So where are you now?
I'm in the water. I'm trying to be in the water.
Why trying?
I have a fear.
How long have you been afraid?
Forever.
What helps?
Staying away from the water.
Well, why not go away now?
I don't know. The colors, I guess. The colors are stunning.
Are you alone?
No.
Who is with you?
My wife, my mom, my brother and sister.
Are they afraid?
My mom and sister are. Worse than I am. And that surprises me.
Why?
Well, Mom grew up here, around the water. I thought she'd be more comfortable. And my sister's always been the risk taker in the family. But not this time.
What about your father? Is he nearby?
No, he's not here. Rarely is. His choice, though, that's another story.
Shall we get back in the water?
Yes,
Do you go under?
eventually.
What does that feel like?
Tight, constricting. The sounds bother me too. That constant hum, the muffled but lingering echoes. I try breathing, but I just can't move any air through the tube, so I tense up. My heart races and I start to lose it. I just want to get out of the water.
And do you get out?
No,
Why not?
my wife. I see my wife. Her presence, her touch. She knows my fear. After a while, I calm down and I try again.
Where are your mother and sister now?
They're on the shore, too afraid to come even this far.
And what about your brother?
He's never been afraid of the water. Asshole. No, he's further off, all alone, no care in the world, where I want to be.
By yourself?
No, not by myself, just without the fear of going further out.
And do you get there farther out?
Not today. I was venting to my doctor about Tom's medical team. I told him that when my sister read me the results of a CT scan on one of Tom's kidneys, I got hung up on the phrase, too numerous to count. What the hell does that mean, I asked, too numerous to count? Since when did doctors stop knowing how to count? Well, my sister wasn't able to tell me what they meant because she had been too stunned to ask. Truth is, she knew what it meant. So did I. We just didn't want to believe it. Still don't. Anyway, my doctor, being a scientist, compassionate, but a scientist nonetheless, he laid it out for me. He simply said, "Go outside on a clear, starry night. Look up at the sky and start counting the stars. You'll soon understand what they meant by too numerous to count."
What was at the heart of the pain in that phrase for you?
Well, for one thing, it pointed to the extent of disease present in Tom's kidney, in his whole body, and that was a hard pill to swallow. It also somehow made the whole situation seem more hopeless. I mean, if you can't even count all of the tumors, how are you going to get rid of them? But more than that, it rekindled the question that none of us could shake, but none of us could ask Tom either. How? How did he let it get to this point? In this day and age of modern medicine and the notion that with early detection you can beat this thing, why was my brother lying in a hospital room dying from cancer?
But what kept you from talking to your brother about how you felt?
It just never seemed like there was a good time to do it. In the beginning, he was so convinced he could beat this thing. And all I was hearing was that it was vital that Tom maintain a positive attitude during treatment. I thought bringing it up might make him feel guilty or sorry for his past decisions. So I kept quiet. After his radiation and first round of chemo, he wasn't the same man. His strength, his will were gone. Talking to him about it then would have added insult to injury.
So where are you now in coming to terms with this?
I realized that getting the answers to the whys, the what-ifs of Tom's cancer was for my benefit, not his. I wanted to ease my pain. I guess I just have to live with not knowing.
Sort of like trying to count the stars. So when do you let him in?
Let him in? No, it's more like he ambushes me
Okay then, when does he come to you?
in the shower. Hey, wait, are you recording this?
No, why?
Well, taken out of context, our last exchange could ruin my reputation as a straight male dancer. I still don't think my dad's convinced.
Very interesting. Subject has latent issues concerning own sexuality and career choice.
Why are you speaking into your sleep?
That's where I hide my microphone.
Yeah, funny.
Shall we get back to the shower, metaphorically speaking?
Yes.
Why do you think your brother's presence is most tangible there?
I don't analyze that. I just close my eyes and let him wash over me. God, it's good to feel him so close. And he's healthy again. You know, in those moments, I can convince myself that everything's back to normal. But those moments, they...
Go on. What happens next?
I know the change is coming. It always does, but I'm never ready for it. So I get jolted back into reality.
And where does that take you?
Well, different places. Seeing the mole for the first time. Wondering how long it had looked that way. Sorting through all the medical jargon. Being buried under piles of information. The clinical trials, the treatment options, all the dead ends. The waiting. The frustration of dealing with his doctor. You know, he was the only physician I encountered who said that Tom could beat this, should even try to fight. Tom latched onto that hope. I think it was just a safe place to hide his denial, his wife's denial.
But is it such a bad thing to want to fight to live?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You've got to fight. But there comes a point when, well, there were other options. He just needed 12 more days, but he chose the chemo and he got worse.
What about 12 more days?
Tom's daughter, his first, his only child. She was born just 12 days after he died.
How do you feel about that?
Sad. Helpless. Really pissed off.
didn't, died, do, during, hands, he, head, healing, him, his, home, how, of, okay, on, 1, hours, later, just, there, back, be, bed, before, brain, brother, play, playing, prayers, follow up, for, from, not, take, tell, then, that, the, there, think, 3, 2, told, Tom, took, treatments, tumor, tumor.
Cancer. A term for diseases in which abnormal cells divide without control. Cancer cells can invade nearby tissues and can spread through the bloodstream and lymphatic system to other parts of the body. Cancer. A term for diseases in which abnormal cells divide without control. Cancer cells can invade nearby tissues and can spread through the bloodstream and lymphatic system to other parts of the body.
My brother Tom was getting radiation treatments for a massive tumor in his spine and multiple lesions in his brain. One day during a follow-up appointment, Tom asked his radiologist how long it would be before he could swing a golf club again. The radiologist told Tom that the damage to his spine would more than likely take a year of healing and recovery. Back at home after the appointment, my sister and I went in to check on Tom. He was lying on his bed, and he was crying. We took his hands in ours, stroked his head, and asked him if there was anything we could do. Tom shook his head and said that he was okay. He said he just didn't think it was going to take so long to recover from the cancer, and he wanted to be playing golf in 3 months. I didn't tell him that my prayers were not for him to play golf, but for him to simply be alive in 3 months. He didn't make it. He died less than 6 weeks later.
So how was your reentry back into your own life?
Fine. It was, yeah, good.
No difficulties to speak of?
Oh, you mean other than trying to understand the appeal of reality television?
Who isn't plagued by that one? Anything else? Something less universal, perhaps?
Not really.
Nothing? Come on, Anthony, you've got to work with me here.
Okay, so I've had some problems. Satisfied?
Not yet.
Look, you know better than most that people have difficulties. That's life, right? I'm sure I wouldn't have to dig too deep to find any number of people having difficulty coping with, well, whatever. Who am I to whine about it? What's the harm in getting on with things? Just going back to the way things were.
Like nothing happened.
Stuff happens. Should I expect the whole world to stop rotating just because I'm having a few difficulties adjusting?
Not the whole world, just your world.
What do you mean by that?
Well, did you go back to work right away?
Oh, yeah, we were already past midterms and I'd hardly been there. I had my classes to teach, a new work to finish choreographing, all my other responsibilities to attend to.
So you proceeded as though everything was normal, as though nothing had happened.
I had to.
Had to or wanted to.
Oh, does that really matter?
Well, it matters if one considers the aspect of being in control versus having none.
Is anybody ever really in control?
Were you? Did you feel in control? Did you feel normal?
Feeling normal is overrated. I'm an artist, for God's sakes. Give me the polar extremes over the pale hues of normalcy any day.
But isn't that exactly what you were avoiding? By jumping back into the swift currents of your pre-existing life, weren't you actually running from the extreme emotions that you were experiencing as a result of your brother's death?
Yes, I wanted to get back to normal,
So-
to feel normal.
So how did that work for you?
I had a hard time keeping it going. There were just too many triggers that kept yanking me back. Calling my family on the weekends. I can't tell you how many times it took before I could stop dialing his number. And then out of the blue, I would just groan spontaneously. My wife knew these were signs that I was back in the mire of my brother's disease.
How did you feel about these moments?
Ambivalent, really. During the occurrences, I loved feeling so close, so connected to Tom. But coming out of them was unnerving, embarrassing, and I would get frustrated with myself for having lost control of the moment.
Control can be a four-letter word. I believe these brief deviations from the present reality were actually attempts by your subconscious to try to process the experience you had just endured. Because your conscious self refused to make room for this in a more natural time frame, your subconscious began firing frequent and condensed bursts of processing moments, which are actually healing opportunities, into your present reality.
What?
What I'm trying to say is your subconscious refused to let you ignore what had just happened to you.
When does that end?
You can't put a time frame on healing. But I believe if you allow the time and space in your normal existence for healing to happen, your subconscious will no longer need to steal moments from your conscious reality.
Any suggestions?
You need to let it out somehow. Find others with similar experiences. Share your stories. Offer your support to them and accept theirs. Give it time, Anthony. What did you expect?
I don't know. Something different. Certainly something more than "I'll see you later." It was the last day they were going to see him alive.
Well, how could they have known that?
I know that. It's just looking back on that day. I know that.
Anything else you remember about that day?
Trying to salvage my relationship with his wife.
Why was that important?
Tom would have wanted that.
So what happened?
I took her hands in mine, and I prayed.
What did you pray for?
Like it matters now.
Does it?
I don't know. I hope so. I prayed for forgiveness, for not handling the whole situation as well as I would have liked. I prayed for forgiveness.
And did his wife join you in prayer?
No,
What did that feel like?
like saying "I love you" and hearing only silence in return.
How is your relationship now?
What relationship?
I see. What else do you remember about that day?
I was able to get us all together, our immediate family, a few hours before he died.
What was that like?
Meaningful. We shared stories, we laughed, we cried, we prayed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard my father pray.
How did you feel about that?
Hopeful, I guess.
Hopeful for what?
Well, for my dad, for a better relationship with him. Hopeful that this might be an opportunity for closure, resolution.
And was it? Did it bring the kind of closure you wanted for your family?
No. I guess that would have been a bit too tidy.
Isn't that something we all want? Coming to acceptable terms at the end.
Yes.
Anything else?
After my family left, it was just Tom and me. I stayed to the end.
Was it hard being there?
Yes, but I couldn't imagine it any other way. Tom was my brother. I held him close, talked him through it. I told him how desperately I was going to miss him as he took his last breath. And then he slipped away. Can we stop now?
Yes, that's enough for now.